Okay, we're live. I wish I would not put this screen in a different. Give me a second to get set up here. Um, do you have the link to the video? I'm trying to find it real quick. That way I can get started.
Yes, I do.
Can you put the link?
In the chat
Yeah,
or in the.
in our like just send it to me in Signal or something, or like
Okay,
in a different, so I can like make a quick announcement. But
here it is.
I really like to not have this take so long.
We got to get that theme music in there.
Almost ready. Just want to send this out. Sending this out to Telegram. And yeah, I think we're good. The nice thing about Discord is it actually auto sends it out. It's kind of cool. Anyway, make sure I'm on the right screen here. Anti 45, what's going on? Hopefully you can hear me okay. So can you do me a favor and check the YouTube audio like on the actual site just to make sure it's good? Like that you can hear us on there?
Yep, it's good.
Okay, cool. All right. Nice. Thank you.
We have audio.
All right. Well, might as well not waste any time because there's kind of a lot going on in the market today. Geez, like Nasdaq down 1.6. Yeah, this is like copper or not copper, but silver down. It's 10%. Pretty decent. Um, I'll probably go over all that later. I'm gonna start off with Bitcoin though because for me it's been relative. It's we talked about we talked about it last week. So we literally streamed a week ago on the drop, and it actually came in quite nicely. Now my chart's gonna look terrible because this is like my scalping chart, so I apologize about that. But if you remember, it came right into our zone, kind of like this area of interest for myself. Did pick up some good buys in that region. I do ultimately think that we I don't necessarily think the downside is over yet. Um, we'll kind of get into that. But it's just kind of like a follow up from them, and or a follow up from last week, and kind of what I think is next. And so far we've had a really nice bounce. Although, like you can see on higher time frames, if you look at the weekly chart that I'm looking at right now, like this, yeah, I mean it's like we had a $12,000 bounce off of that, like that 60K low. But ultimately, like look at where we are right now. Look at what price is doing. It's not. We're not like it's just like I said, like I did not expect any kind of V-shaped reversal, strong bottom here, and like we're going to new all-time highs. Like I do not expect that to happen. It's this is very classic Bitcoin price action. If you've been trading it for more than a few years, you would see this and you should have a pretty fair idea of like how it tends to behave in times like this. And it's just not really it's if anything, we're I would say like what is bullish for Bitcoin again is kind of like forming some kind of range in this region and trying to like I think that we could spend a few weeks here. We could spend even a couple of months down here, but I don't even necessarily think that that is enough to avoid testing a bit further. Again, I'll get into that. What's up? Oh, DJ. Oh, let's go though. See the old Discord OG. See you guys. If you're in VIP or if you're in Discord, can you please tell me? Um, I'm gonna I'll put you as a moderator. Hold on a second here. Cool, there you go. Um, yeah. So this is like my second public stream in a long time. you know, usually when I'm streaming, I'm you know, it's all just for Discord. Like I usually just do it in Discord for whoever's there. But I'm trying to get back to kind of doing things a bit more publicly, just because it's fun and you know, kind of like build the audience a bit. But anyway, so Bitcoin on the weekly, I think this is a really good starting place just to kind of get again like continue the higher time frame analysis, kind of look at things objectively and not worry too much about like the day-to-day noise that sometimes you can get in regions like this. Um, you know, I do think again that 60K low that we put in last week, I do think that that is an okay low for the time being, and we don't necessarily have to revisit that like for a little while. Today it feels like we might, but this is very normal. You know, I do think that this is a decent low for a bounce, which we got a $12,000 bounce on top of that, which is really pretty significant. But if you look at prior instances of, you know, candles like this where you've had really significant moves, I kind of think like this area is pretty relevant towards, you know, I mean, again, like just looking at the structure of this, it's it's very similar to kind of like how we put in a top, you know, back in October. It's very similar, like across the board. And I know like I'm not the only one talking about this because I mean you're pretty blind if you don't see that. It's like almost it's very very similar to that, right? Um, the you know, so like where kind of would we be maybe to me if any if we're like comparing, we're kind of in this region. Which what is that? And I kind of feel that this is similar in terms of like the way price is behaving right now. That's kind of like would be my guess if we have to follow this fractal from last cycle perfectly, which I do not think that we will like that well. If we did, then I mean that's some kind of gift, but I just don't really. I mean, it's not going to look perfect like this, right? Um, but the point is, and kind of some things that I want to draw your attention to is the last time. So again, we're looking at Ichimoku on the weekly time frame and some things of relevance that happens that I think that happened and that you can kind of carry forward into this current analysis that I think is really relevant. Um, First of all, you notice the first time that you got a close below weekly cloud was here. You see right there. And what is this saying? Again, so this is after you came into cloud, gave you a nice bounce, and then guess what? You come back up to where your TK lines are, rejected off of there, you know, multiple times, and then gave you the close below. After you got the close below, we got our last flush basically to our macro lows, right? So if that was to kind of carry forward, you look at what's happening here. Again, it's not like this where you got your cloud bounce into it's not perfect like that, right? Like and I'm just saying in terms of like how Ichimoku is behaving, like the structurally it looks very similar, but it doesn't have to like look exactly the same, like as you know, as far as Ichimoku goes. But what we got last week was your close below cloud, and this is the first close below cloud this entire cycle. So literally this low, like if you check this out, you literally got when we made our macro low here, and you got your close above your Tenkin on the weekly time frame. So we actually saw this earlier on the daily time frame because we were streaming hard right around this area, and I distinctly remember 17,100 was kind of like the first real change behavior that led me to close all of my shorts that I had from like way higher. This is kind of the same thing, right? So like on a weekly time frame, you got your close above your first level of resistance. So again, close below cloud, bearish TK cross, right? Like you're below cloud, things look bad, things look ugly. Anytime that you came, you know, like we got that test in here, which gave you another low, which was the low. And then you got your close back above your Tenkin, and then the rest is history. It's like so you came back up to cloud, very good resistance here, and then ultimately again close inside, and you got a really that was obviously like a very significant move, right? So like a little bit of chop around here, but ultimately was pretty decent, and you know it was a nice sign, put it that way. Here, it's the opposite. You're what are you getting now? You're getting again, like you're getting your close below cloud, below this key level, by the way, like below this SR zone that I have drawn out. We're back in this prior range, which by the way, again, I think I pointed this out. But like your value area low of this range, and I'll just mark it off for you. It was the low. Like, so you're back within trade, this trading range, with which I think is a fantastic, again, for the time being, while we're kind of waiting for the larger, like the higher time frames to kind of resolve. All that I do myself is I just go back to trading this range, because the levels are still very valid, obviously, right? Like your value area low of this prior range was literally the low so far. You got a $12,000 bounce outside of that. So again, like today, we're going to kind of look and see, some potential areas of interest, which by the way, I think the weekly time frame highlights that extremely well. The first area of interest for me, if I'm looking at a trade and I'm not in one, which right now I'm not in one, like, and I'm talking about as far as a trade within this range, because I have been scalping insanely. Actually, like, I will bring this over just so you guys can see it. Because if you guys aren't in VIP, I didn't even make an announcement yet, so this is kind of like the first announcement of an announcement, but it is actually available to get into. I have YouTube channel memberships that if you click join, you can actually see them. And I'm not like a big promoter. I don't really like to do that kind of stuff, but there is a way to actually get in here, which there hasn't been for a long time. But I'll drag this over so you guys can see it. And it's like, and so this is from the last stream, right? Nice bounce today off the zone. I don't mind, anyway, we have a lot of fun in VIP, by the way. But basically, like, I'm literally giving levels, and I'm saying like daily pivot, 382 fib, anchor. I mean, like all these things, 67.4, 67.5, which by the way was this low. Like, not to pat myself on the back, but that was called out in advance, and like I had, again, 66,600 for support. Go back and look at the first time we tested around this region. It was a really nice bounce. We had a few $1,000 bounce there. We have not hit this area yet. But anyway, I give like very thorough, like about like lower time frame stuff that I'm looking at. So like would consider a long scalp, like I give very specific stuff, because everybody in here is there by this point. They've all been in here for years. They're good friends. I mean, you literally look at the reaction off of the level that I gave. Not to pat myself on the back, but like there's a lot going on. So if you like stuff like this, and if you are like into lower time frame trading, especially, like that's something that, like, I would say that's kind of where like my strongest suit is lower time frame for myself. So I tend to do a lot of it. But anyway, I do try to kind of be as helpful as I can be in Discord without like and teach and that type of stuff. So if that's interested, there's the channel memberships that would gain you access to that, for the VIP one. But anyway, it's enough self-promoting there. But I'm pretty proud of the way like I've traded this range so far. So anyway, back to levels of interest for myself. What I would love is, which I do think that we'll get there. It's just a matter of like if we kind of come back a bit lower to kind of like retest, kind of like fill in this wick and kind of like chop around a bit. I would love a retest of this red box personally. And just again, this is like our prior resistance, right? So this is like, I'm talking in terms of pure support and resistance. All right. What was massive resistance here, you got your break above. Everybody following me so far? So again, massive resistance here. You got your strong break to the upside with your pullback that tested this as support, and it was confirmed, right? Like absolute perfection as far as resistance flipped into support. And then you got your new all-time high. All right, so let me clean this up. So again, very massive, important level. Now on the downside, what would be to me another like very nice classic reversal of literally this is you broke your support, which we just did, right? You put in your macro high, you broke your support. Now, can we get like a retest before another leg lower? I would love that. So, very simply put, again, not financial advice, very simply put, one area of interest for myself is back, I would love to retest the bottom of cloud. That would be, I just think the confluence is really nice there. This is a very strong, this to me is likely very strong resistance at this point. Um, and again, one that has my interest. So as far as the short goes, this is kind of the area that I would be looking at. To the like, as far as like, I don't really love, again, like trade, like going back to kind of trading these range levels. To me, the value area low is still very important. Um, Anything below this, I think that, like, which I do think my bias is lower, and I do think that over time we will test lower levels. How low? I mean, like, if I go to this chart again, this is a huge mess. Try to like go on something a little lower time frame. So here, by the way, is so again, when we came into that 66,600 level that I mentioned, you look like our first test into it, we got a really big significant bounce, right? So this again for like lower time frame stuff, which is what I'm talking about in Discord. So all that like text and stuff that I showed you for my trading plan, that's literally it. So like I'm trying to trade these lower time frame moves, which again, that was a really nice level. So the last level that we haven't actually hit yet is your golden pocket. From, quite simply put, your 60K low up to our current high. All right. So this region to me is interesting, because the golden pocket will always be interesting to me for a trade. The problem with this is there's not really that much confluence here. It's just that. So it is very powerful. I do like I like that it took about, we had a nice range that formed up here. And basically your value area low essentially flipped to resistance, right? And like we're making new lows on this move. So I do like this in terms of how long it took for us to kind of get back to revisit these levels. So I wouldn't be that surprised if we did get a nice, decent bounce here. This is just one that I would look for lower time frame stuff and probably kind of be a bit quick to take some profit and move my stop up to protect it. But this to me is like a semi interesting area, because I do think that if we come in to test this and it holds as nice support, I do think we actually can get that bigger push up into the red box, right? Which to me, like, that is the area that I'm most interested in currently. To the downside, like if this golden pocket doesn't really hold up, which it's possible, because again, there's just not much that's here that's supporting this level. I do think, another probe back down to kind of fill this wick is possible. One thing that I could see happen that tends to happen in price, like with price action like this, is actually front running the low, right? Because a lot of people they have alerts and they're kind of like waiting for this to get taken out, which is one thing that I always do. But like I could see like us like kind of come down but front run the low and not actually take it out, get a nice bounce. And all that would signal to me is, if you see something like this, to me, all that would signal is that the next time that we come down here, you're very likely to at least get a swing failure pattern. Because I just think that I don't like, to me, this is like unfinished, right? And what this happens, it's like it comes down, it gets pretty close, but then it's kind of like the fake out, and then you feel left behind. And you get people chasing stuff, and then all of a sudden, then bam, it does. You either get the nuke, or you get the SFP to take everybody's stops out, and then it sends, right? So I would say I would be careful of that kind of scenario. It's a little tough to want to bid this region, because to me, I like to get the clean SFP. When it, like, if and when that happens, that's a very clean trade with a very clean setup, and you have a very definitive stop, because it's literally where the low of that wick is, right? So again, this is the wrong chart. This is my scalping chart. But like if you were to come down here, take it, like, and then your long invalidation is below there, so like you literally your stop goes there, and then hopefully it trades up back to the top of the range, something like that. That's always a really nice setup that I speak a lot about, especially in Discord. But that's kind of like, again, that would be an attractive long for myself. But again, the front run scenario that tends to happen a lot, like in times like this, and it's just from trading a long time, and just it's kind of like a psychological thing too. But it's very difficult to catch this, and I would say that, like, you know you kind of got to see like how price is behaving as it's coming down into this region. But quite simply, it's like if you think that there's a chance that you're gonna get front run around here, and you really feel like you want to try to play that, then quite simply your stop just goes below the low. It's that simple, right? So like if it starts to get really deep in here again, but you think that there's a decent chance that you can get front run, then you could put your stop below there. And obviously, if you get taken out and it ends up being a swing failure pattern, you can get right back in and have a clean stop and then look to take it, right? So it's like you can kind of play both scenarios. I'm not a big fan of the first one. Usually, I just like to wait for kind of like higher, kind of like cleaner setups. I'm not one that needs to chase and enter, but some people just love to trade and like try to like time lows and stuff. And I'm just saying that like that happens quite often where you get what looks kind of like a double bottom, or like it'll slightly front run and then actually give you a nice rally, and then weeks later we actually come down and nuke, or give you a clean run of those lows, something like that. That does happen, so something to be aware of. But again, higher time frames, look at the trend isn't great. The trend's not great. So on a weekly time frame, which is very high time frame for Bitcoin, for the way that I look at things, it's pretty high time frame. And this is just telling you that we're below cloud. Obviously, like your Tenkan and your Kijun here this is going to take some time to resolve and to work its way down and be semi meaningful, because they're still sitting here at 93K, right? That's not really that helpful. Where do I think like a larger bounce could take place? Quite simply, like a weekly close back inside a cloud, especially above this red zone, would be a nice sign that maybe, wherever your Tenkan and your Kijun, so this blue and yellow line is, if you get a weekly close back inside cloud, I would look for that reversion. That's kind of what that would tell me. It doesn't mean that the low is necessarily in. It just would be, I would initially look at that as a reversion opportunity to wherever these lines are. So that's kind of, I don't expect that to happen really. But weekly close back above like 74, 75K, something like that, then I would be looking a bit higher to wherever this is and kind of want to look at that first. But I just think, again, a retest here would be very clean. I think that this is a very nice region with a relatively decent invalidation. It's like you don't have to wait too long to figure it out if you're wrong on this. But I do think that this red box, this red zone here, is very definitive of not only where we are, but where we are, like, kind of like where we are in the cycle. So, anyway, does anybody have any questions? Hey, we're gonna deep dive on that GME thesis today. Yeah, not that's very soon though. And Big T said that's soon. That's very soon. I know he has a lot of stuff to say about that. So anyway, Tig, I know you gotta actually probably go pretty soon, but I don't know if you have anything to add or anything you want to say. Take a sip of coffee. I think maybe he left. He had to go like pick up his kids. Um. So anyway, any questions on Bitcoin? So this is like higher time frame stuff. So again, lower time frame, the golden pocket sitting around, just kind of below where we are. I would pay attention to that. Below that, it's just like it's just like so I'm getting sidetracked. I gotta close this. All right. But yeah, so golden pocket slightly below. And I'm talking about lower time frame stuff, right? So lower time frame stuff, be aware of this. for a potential bounce area. Otherwise, I do think we're going to be testing the lower end of this range again, which is, again, I don't necessarily expect it to break. Like I said, I think that there's a decent chance of some kind of a front run, or maybe like a 786 daily here, which is kind of nice. And this to me is like another, so I would say like below here, where would the next area of interest be for like an intraday type trade? It's this daily. I love dailies for intraday. But it also aligns with the 786 the 786 here, which is great. Like at least we have some confluence. So this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like we have confluence here. You have at least two confluences, which is nice. And it's kind of like back in your buy zone, right? Like, or well, my buy zone, I should say yours, but this is like where I'm been buying. And I do like, so, and I guess I can talk about that for a little bit, just to kind of give you like, which I did last week. But I am like throughout this region for different reasons, right? Like I am buying spot and I am holding it. And I did not, I had some really nice shorts up in this range. But like the spot that I have is long term. I plan on holding this for a significant amount of time, right? Like so whatever, like the spot that I bought in this, which was great fills, I didn't bother messing with here. I didn't sell it. Obviously, like if you knew it was going to play out perfectly like this and you knew that you were going to get a pullback, it's like, okay, you could have maybe had a bit more trading mindset with that. But for me, that's not what that position's about. It's just about buying the stuff that I sold from 100 to 104K and getting that back. You know what I mean? Like, so like I feel very good about that. Long-term plan, different bucket though. Like that's my spot positions. That's not like my trading, like my trading account, right? So, the stuff that I bought in here, I do have bids lower. I do have bids lower. I do still feel that I'm going to get filled on more of them. Um, Although I'm not necessarily expecting like I'm not expecting too much. Like I wouldn't be shocked if we don't go that much lower. Wouldn't be too surprised. And I'll just replicate this here so you guys can see where the golden pocket is. Because it's on my other chart, but like this is a pretty important region. So like, if we came down in this region, which we have, this is the same weekly level that you see on the other chart. So it's like that's a bit of confluence there as well. Like I would love to see this because obviously I'd be getting filled on more spot buys. I would be very careful around here. Like this is a very significant, um, this is a very significant golden pocket because it's measuring your macro low and your current high, right? Like this is always going to be something of interest. And I do think like if we come down here first for a bounce, um, like you can get a sizable bounce and maybe just maybe if we don't get this first, maybe we get this first, which ultimately could still mean that we're moving lower over time, right? Like that's all that's kind of like what I would say here, like is I um and like it kind of I guess for me it kind of depends like how price behaves as it comes here. Do we spend some time here, which I would like that. I would actually like for us to chop around and spend some time around here. And again, any kind of like quick stab down, I would be more of a, again, in the camp that we're going to spend some time around here. Guess what? Like, just like we did here, spent a lot of time here before we moved up and eventually made our all-time high. Like, it wouldn't surprise me to spend a bit of time here and then, put in a nice base. I just think it's going to take time. I don't think this is going to be resolved anytime soon. Great question. Okay, so first of all, DJ is laying some stuff down. 44K, 46. I do like that. I do like that a lot. And you're absolutely right. Like I do like that region. Um, I do like that, and there are very good. I agree. So that is like for me that is almost like I know like some people are thinking that we might go a lot lower. Like there's some people out there that think we're going to see sub 10K. I don't think I class that as like extremely unlikely. Um, Obviously anything's possible. I just don't think that's really going to happen. I think what's reasonable is literally that zone that you're talking about, and for me, that is a very interesting, a very interesting level, and kind of one that I'll get to in a little bit. So I agree with that. What do you think about alt season? Oh, geez, do we still have a chance for rally? The tough thing about that is like, and I, as far as alt seasons go, I think that it gets harder to have the alt seasons of the past that we've had because there's just so many alts now. Like, and there's so many coins, there's so many things that were created, over the last few years, that I just think it's like there's money spread out all over the place. It's hard to consolidate that. Like in all seasons of prior times, right? The market was more condensed, arguably significantly more condensed. If you're talking about the sheer number of tokens that exist in the world, I mean, there's literally millions and millions and millions and millions of tokens. Um, and prior cycles, obviously, like the places where money could be was condensed, and it was like there was, which I arguably, again, you look at how alts have performed, and I would think that backs up what I'm saying, right? Like just sheer weakness on a lot of these names, where like they're not really behaving like you would think, like we're kind of used to. Again, if you've been in crypto for multiple cycles, you can see by now, right, that alts just have not kind of behaved like they used to. And I just think that it's going to be really difficult. Like if anything, we're going to get another I'm very bearish on the majority of the alts that exist, just because of what happened. And again, the sheer number of them, there's so many now that it's like most of them will never really, like, I'm pretty confident saying that the majority of alts will never see another all-time high, like for themselves, like for those individual ones. But there's going to be some one-off here and there. There's going to be stuff, like I would say the mainstream stuff has the best chance. Solana, ETH, which ETH isn't an alt, but I'm just throwing it out there because we're talking about Bitcoin. It's like, I think ETH still has a chance. Especially there's actually like some, I don't know if I want to talk about that here, but I'll probably save that for next stream because that's going to take me a whole bunch of time. But I actually have quite a bit of thought about like why there's still, why I think like there's still like pretty good upside for some of that stuff in the future, right? But yeah, I think like your majors, Ethereum, Sol, XRP is like a fan, it's like a fanboy. Everybody, it's like that always kind of gets, that's always kind of in people's, that's in like, people love it for whatever reason. Stuff like that I think will continue to be relevant, and it'll be there. I think Litecoin still, even though it's in the 50s, like I honestly think Litecoin is like not the right chart, but like I do think like Litecoin is actually like in a really interesting long-term area. Like long-term area. So, as far as potential upside goes, like I am buying some Litecoin. So to be honest about it, is it like, does it have like the hottest narrative? Does it have the hot? It's like, no, it's kind of like, to me, it's like Litecoin is a bit more predictable, and it's kind of like the steady eddy, like slow and steady. Kind of what I like about this is you're in a 4-year range, and you're at historically decent levels to buy it. Again, if Bitcoin goes down to 45K, 50K, what is Litecoin going to be at? A lot lower, but again, for me, I'd probably still buy a bit. Not financial advice, it's just me, what I'm doing. But this is just one that is, to me, I've traded for a long time. I've done really well trading it, and I'm cool with, this is one that I just don't mind. But like a lot of the other stuff that I've historically had, I'm less wanting to hold stuff like that. So that's just my personal preference. Um, so again, like in terms of alt season, just to kind of wrap that up, because that's an excellent, excellent question. I think that there's so many of them that it's going to be hard to get a cohesive pump like across the board, if that makes sense. Like on like all of them, because there's so many. Um, I just think that it's a bit more challenging to do that, and I think that there's easier ways to play that. But there will be individual names that have massive pumps. There will be, um, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it doesn't mean that alts aren't going to have a good relief. Like, if we put in a macro low and Bitcoin starts trudging higher, and it becomes clear and consensus that that's likely a good low, and you start to get real strength coming back into the market, then yes, alts versus USD likely going to move high, right? Like alts USD are going to recover. How much they recover, I don't know, but are they going to outpace? Are they going to outpace Bitcoin, ETH? I don't know. Are they going to outpace Sol? I don't know. I mean, it depends what alt you're looking at. Like DOT was one that we talked about last time. It's like stuff like that. I have like you're gonna have moments which you do stuff like, and one that comes to mind is ZRX. Like ZRX is just one of those like that like you wake up and for some reason damn thing's up 60%. It happens. But if you look at the hard time frame long term chart of it, it's really bad, right? But like you could have spurts here and there on certain names or groups. I do think that will continue over time. It's just I think overall, if I'm talking about overall the whole alt market, I think it has more headwinds today than it's ever had. So hopefully that makes sense. It doesn't mean that they can't perform well for short periods of time. But it's like even last cycle it was like it just felt like they had a hard time, which they obviously did. Like there was so many that didn't come close to making a new all-time high, right? I mean, geez, like you can look at some of this stuff. Like look at these charts. This is last cycle. Okay. Here's the point. Like Bitcoin made a new all-time high. ETH made a new all-time high, barely, but it did. And then here's Atom. Like, where was the top? Like, I mean, so we go to Bitcoin. So the top was October, right? October. Now go to Atom. So where were you in October? Like, here? $4? Last cycle you were at 42. So like that's what I mean by like, is there like if the alt seasons that we had like this prior go around were a lot shorter than they were like back here, right? This is like real. Um, so anyway. So Taylor, Bitcoin is old tech. All tech gets less valuable. Might as well invest in televisions. The best analysts are saying some temporary support 10K. After that, probably zero. Yeah, I don't agree with that. Like, I don't agree with that in terms of like. I mean, I get like I obviously Bitcoin has been around a while now. I understand that. I think it has a bit different. Like, what I do think right now is kind of like an adjustment, right? We had our big move up, another big move up after many big moves up historically. And I don't think that Bitcoin is all of a sudden irrelevant. That's just my opinion. Do I think Bitcoin makes another new all-time high? I'm still in the camp that it does. Now it doesn't like really like does it like could the absolute high on Bitcoin be in? It's possible. But like for me, again, from a trading perspective, and me personally thinking that like the high, like we'll have another high on Bitcoin at some future date and time, buying it on a deep retracement like this is just always been part of my trading plan, and it's something that I've done very well doing, so I'll continue to do until otherwise. But it's like it's just again when something's down 50% or whatever off, it's just like it's okay. It's for me that's just a sign to like, yes, time to get an allocation again, basically. Um, so yeah. Anyway, this is like to wrap up the alts. It's a phenomenal, it's an outstanding question though, and like that's a really important one. But that's kind of my thoughts about it. Is like this is how a lot of alts looked, and Bitcoin was 125k, 126k, whatever the high was. Like look at this, and like AVAX is for again same thing. Like yes, you have rallies. Yes, you have rallies. And look at this, just right back up to your weekly Kijun, by the way, which was, in hindsight, a beautiful short. And honestly, if it got up to 26 again, I'd probably short it again. But it's like the alts, a lot of the alts that were prominent last cycle just didn't ever recover to, and part of that again is, and why this is harder for this to recover to new all-time highs again. If AVAX is building some stuff, or they have attractive tech, which maybe they do. Actually, we'll talk about that in the future, as like a potential. But like, it's going to be hard to reclaim some of these levels, like extremely hard. And my point is, most of these alts that we have seen and we've traded and we've covered on this channel, over the last 4 or 5 years, there's not bright sunny future ahead for a lot of those. It just is what it is, and I think like a consolidation's in order. And it is what it is. But I'm not very bullish on a lot of this stuff. Again, XRP, what did XRP do? It made a new high. Barely, but it did. So here's your prior high. And 18 took it didn't. Now again, 21, 22, it didn't even come close. But this is one that, and I think this is kind of like a rare case where it actually did make new highs. And this was like a lot of news driven stuff too during, or around this time. Either way though, it managed to make a new high. But XRP is again one of like the most popular, most talked about crypto that is out there, right? It's like you have Bitcoin, ETH, XRP. Like it's right up there. So, but it made a new high. So this automatically is a bit more credible, which I'm not a big XRP fan at all. But it's like, the fact that this actually behaved like a bullish asset in an appropriate time frame, that alone sets it apart from a lot of its peers. Like a lot of and by peers I mean the rest of the alts. It did something different. So anyway, great question. Love it. ETH. No one's talking about ETH. I mean, I agree. Like, and I do think that ETH is kind of, ETH is kind of like approaching this channel, by the way, which I was trading this really, really nice. And again, this is kind of like low time frame stuff mixed with high time frame. So I apologize for the mess, but again, really nice channel rejection with your anchored VWAP off the high. Very, very, very good. And then you got a massive nuke. I'm gonna try to clean this up a little bit. Yeah, she got like fake out. This one was really good. We had this trend, and then you got your deviation below here, and then boom, right? No all-time highs. So like now, again, this is something that I haven't looked at in a little bit. I haven't bought any ETH yet on this drop. Will I? Yes, at some point. I probably actually can clean this up quite a bit if you give me just a second. ETH is something that I think is a bit. I'm just gonna go ahead. Actually, I don't know. Curious, like, what does this look like on a daily? Oh wow, look at that. Look, if you're trading support and resistance, and you want to know if a line, like if one of your support or resistance, your trend lines, whatever it might be, is still relevant, you look at the reaction. This is a very good reaction. So in terms of, and it was here too as well. Again, nice SR flip, bottom, consolidation underneath resistance, which is not bearish. And then you got your move up. And then here, support, trying to hold close below, nuke, retest, resistance. But then you're getting actually a pretty good pullback off of here. So is this trend line still relevant? Yes, I do think so. I'm not going to delete that. This one, little messy. Probably get rid of that. That's okay. I'm going to clean up these fibs. Just give me a second. Clean up. some of this. That way my chart looks a bit less messy. So far your low is around your 886, which is a very deep retracement and not that shocking for ETH because ETH is a piece of garbage a lot of times. But again, the thing I like about Ethereum is that it made a new all-time high, just barely, but it actually did it and spent some time around here with Tom Lee buying everything, and then this thing nukes down. He's down massively, so that it is what it is there. Thanks, Tom. But anyway, on ETH, let's take a peek here. Okay, right away. Right away, a level of interest, and this again, I'm putting my, like, if I'm a long-term believer in Ethereum, and I think that Ethereum is undervalued here, which I, uh, um, yeah. Oh, you're back. Takes back. We talked about ETH, and like I kind of been flip flopping about it. Like, and so far I've been very right about ETH on this move down. But in terms of like I will be, I do need to say that like I do think that ETH is coming into like what is a good value, right? Like, and that's my personal opinion. Like, if I think Ethereum has a future, which I do, like it's still a very core part of our ecosystem, right? And like there's been some, like, I know Vitalik's, I don't want to get too much into this, but you know how he mentioned that there's like no need for level twos, then he saw level twos take a beating, and then I like what anyway. If you're bullish on ETH, I do think this weekly actually is for me, being this point of control of this massive range that this has been in. Okay. Like absolutely massive range. So I'll probably just get rid of this for right now. I kind of want to like look at this with a bit more of like a kind of like less is more. Um, Decent area to bounce again off your 886, very deep retracement, and you did get a nice, this was last week's low with Bitcoin, and then you got your rally, and then again you're kind of doing this. It's the same thing as Bitcoin, right? You made your low, got your rally, and then now you're getting a bit of a pullback. If Bitcoin goes down to, makes a new low sub 60K, then basically, um basically, like I think this weekly's pretty interesting level to start buying spot ETH for myself. I am not, again, I have Bitcoin bids that filled. I have many more lower because my bias is still bearish, and I still think that I think we're gonna make new lows. So again, if I think that way, I want to try to get as good of an average for like my long-term positions as I can. Um, Honestly, like perfect scenario, right into the bull moon. What I would love is to get that 73K move first, 73, 74, 75, even something around there, and try to get into a nice short there. That way, like, on my, on this spot buying that because I've just been staying out of the market. Like, I have not been doing very much. I've been trading, like in my trading account, short-term stuff, but I haven't, like, as far as long-term swings either direction, I did not take anything long-term. But I would love to get kind of a short from that region that I talked about. That way, if and when we do make new lows, that's going to be a nice position to be in, and it makes my spot buying less. Like, I care even less than I already do about how that is, because I have like a nice hedge in a way. So that would be nice. But I don't, again, not overly bothered by that at all. It's just kind of like what I'm thinking. I haven't bought any ETH yet. Um, and we start to get into deeper regions like this. Historically speaking, it's not a bad place to start looking, right? So I would say, like, anything, I really like the confluence here of this. I mean, and you look at the size of this volume node here. Like, this is very significant. When it was a major low here, right? The last time it came down here, spent a bit of time, and again, you can kind of see like how this is built up in this region. And then last time we got a move right in, and then like a very, very swift, big spike up out of there, right? Like very nice move. So I wouldn't write this area off, and I would say this is really anywhere. Again, this is a volume node. This isn't an exact, precise, 1575 is your point of control, but it's really anywhere from like 1530 to like 1650, something like that. So anywhere in this region, as far as, again, if Bitcoin is coming into some key support levels to the downside and ETH is hitting this at the same time, and I think, hey, this is a pretty good bounce, I would be interested in ETH at that point. Right now, no ETH bids currently, but that could change. Like I might put some ETH bids in. It's just I honestly think I would actually like lower. Around like this S1 pivot basically would be I feel. And the truth is, if I bought some ETH for a long swing, I'm kind of borderline like retarded sometimes, and just like I'm a very big NFT holder. I'd probably just buy more stuff because I'm stupid. But no, but anyway, I'm not too bothered by it. But like I just think ETH starts to get attractive. You're down. I mean, you're down like you're down 61%. The low is 65. Again, historically speaking, it's just it starts to get into anytime you're gonna get like a 65% retracement on something with the potential for which I do think that like we're gonna see a bit deeper on ETH. I do like this region quite a bit. Anytime you're gonna get like a 70% retracement from an all-time high on an asset that you think has a future, it's similar to stocks, right? If you love, if there's a company out there that you really like long term and it has a 60-70% pullback, but like you're still bullish on the fundamentals, um Tesla pulls back significantly because it has done that from time to time. It doesn't change like the overall thesis on Tesla. You're just getting a better entry, right? So now I don't know if I'm comparing ETH to Tesla, but I'm just giving you an example of like what of again, if you like, and I say this, if you loved ETH at 4K, you better love it at 1900. Okay, if you're like long term thinking. Hit us with the GME thesis take. Oh boy, Tig, you want to do it just a little bit? You want to do it, or do you want to save it? That's up to you. But like,
I think we should save it.
you want to save it? It's a really good, like it's and that's, I'm not taking any credit for the GME. I can go over the GME chart till I'm blue in the face, but like as far as like the the stuff that he's mentioned and the stuff he sees, it's like I honestly, for me, it went from thinking GME is the biggest piece of garbage in existence. I would just because of its like meme stock, right? It's kind of like the rep that it has in my brain. It's kind of like XRP in a way, but then he's like, no, there's actually like a real thing that's being built. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
See,
I guess
I'm
I'll
trying
just
to do
say,
it for you,
yeah.
Yicky Height. I'm trying to get
I'll just I'll just say that it's been transformed. I mean, as far
All
as
right, let's
like
go
just
look
the
at it real quick.
structure of the company.
Let's see if I can get more out of it. I'll try. Where is it?
Back when
The bottom
the
where it
whole
belongs?
meme
Hold
stock
on.
thing was happening,
Here it is.
it was just up huge. Like there's nothing like the company, like the stores were doing terrible. I mean, they've cleaned up the structure of the company to the point to where something is a lot more exciting. So
Okay.
that's
I know there's
well,
going to be a real deep dive very soon. Like, I know that behind the scenes, giving you the behind the scenes alpha there about that is coming very soon. I'll tell you from a technical standpoint, and we've spoke about this. Like you're in a long, what I would class is like a really long term range, right? It's like you're talking from last cycle when it had its mean crazy move up to 120. Oh my god, oh this is amazing. You knew just like precious metals. When you see this, look the beep out. You know what I mean? It's like, and this was much more exaggerated, but you also like I honestly didn't really expect that big of a rally after that, to be fair. But long term, you've been in a consolidation, a very large one, um, for the last 4 years, and technically, you've had a few interesting things lately. Like again, anywhere near your value area low has been a really decent opportunity. Even again, you had this kind of break below, then break above, support, support, support. Like for the last year and a half now, this value area low has been rock solid support. All right. So if you're looking at a key level here, this absolutely is it. Like you don't need to, it doesn't get any easier than that. Like this is a very important region. I would say around 1950 to $20, right? That's a very important support. I think if you got another test down there, I wouldn't hate actually taking a shot because again, like you have very clear support in this region. You wouldn't have to risk much to figure out if you're wrong on that. So I like that. And he did actually just come up and challenge your yearly pivot, which you can see. You did get a close above, but then close below, resistance, resistance, resistance. It's struggling to maintain any sort of, anything above this pivot, which is pretty normal. Like I'm not like it's a pretty normal thing. Um, and an area to kind of get a pullback. So like, is this pullback an opportunity? For myself, not advice, not financial advice. I do think that like if you're dying to get into GameStop, for me, it's like something like this, which I have no GME. Throwing it out there. This is an area of interest. So like as far as like finding levels within here to maybe get some bids, something like that. And again, if you see any material weakness below this level, I think that it's problematic. You don't want to break major structure like this because if this flips into resistance, then yeah, I do think you can come back down to like 14, $15, something like that. So that's, I would say that do your own research, of course. I just think that this is an interesting area. There's been a really nice consolidation of, in this region. If you're bullish on GME and you think that it ultimately turns higher, then, I'd be kind of curious like how this looks. Cloud, you got your edge to edge, big rejection came, and then again, like flipped into resistance, new low, right? This is actually kind of helpful, I would say. So far, you have a really nice like this is I would argue like this is a pretty big support here. You got your Tenkin Kijun point of control for like this 4-year range that's been developing. Like this is not a bad kind of like mini support zone, I would say here. Below 21, then yeah, I just think that it's likely to come back down and give you another test. But all fair areas, if you're high time frame bullish on GameStop, not a terrible area. If you think it can go a lot higher. Start to trade back about 25, 26 again. And yes, like I do think that this thing actually has legs, like could have legs for a real breakout. I don't know how this is going to look. Let's take a look here. Not very helpful. Yeah. And again, like the reason that this is very choppy looking and not super helpful to me is because it's been in a range, right? So it's like when Ichimoku gets in a range, it kind of starts to tend to give you a lot of noise. But like what is pretty definitive though is like the shape of the cloud. Arguably, this actually is like a pretty good. What do you want to see? You want to see it get above 38. So like you want to see it like get back in cloud, have a weekly close inside a cloud. Your 10 again, this is weekly time frame. This is going to take some time for this stuff to kind of catch up. But like on higher time frame stuff, getting back, weekly close above 28, 29 would be a really, really good start for, I would say a bit more fuel to get up to like a 37, something like that, which again is just kind of like this prior high, prior region over here. You start to close and trade above weekly cloud, then especially on a closing basis, then I think that, you got a chance for like a real decent move. So anyway, that's your GME analysis. Um, it's at an interesting level. Just say that. At an interesting level. I don't hate it here. I don't hate it like I used to. And yeah, I can attribute that to you, Tig. But yeah, I don't hate it. But it's for me, it's like personally speaking, I'm like, there's other areas that I'm like more excited about, but it's also, I do think that the thesis, like your thesis for it and like your reasoning is pretty sound. So it's like,
Well, I would say the chart is reminds me of like a sleeping giant, maybe.
oh, geez, here we go. I'm just kidding. And I gotta give you guys
Uh,
this, okay? Because I want to find it. It happens to be right here. For those of you in VIP, if you remember, oh my God, it's still here. So we were literally doing an analysis. It was around here, right? And I remember you were like adamant about GoPro, and like I swear it sounded the same. Like your pitch to me about, well, it was less. It wasn't as um it wasn't like
yeah,
GME
the
like
GoPro is more of a short
it was,
term play. Yeah.
yes, but you're like, look, bro, there's stuff coming, I think, and I'm sitting here and go back to that stream, and I'm like, sir, have you not seen? Look at this thing. Doesn't mean it can't bounce, right? Like the usual, But it's like, dude, this thing is absolutely like, are you kidding me? Why are you
Wow, look
looking
at
at
that
this?
thing. Whew.
Like, why are you looking? Hold on, I'm gonna hide all this. Like, why are you looking at this thing? Like, this thing is, like, does it have a snapback? Maybe, but this thing's pure garbage. And I kid you not, it wasn't very long afterward, but it started to move up. I was like, oh no, look, he's gonna be right. And then sure enough, but like, hey, look at weekly cloud, really good. Got your edge to edge on a weekly time frame. Was the absolute pico top of this move. But I mean, dude, honestly, I don't remember where we talked about this. So it was obviously, so it had to have been post
I think it
this.
went up like 300%.
Yeah, it was like somewhere around here. I don't know. Like it was, yeah, that's probably it. That's like a pretty, anyway, you nailed that one. And I was like, I remember I was like, yeah, like okay, it's again starting to change, but man, that one ended up being a banger. So DJ, I literally wanted to ask about GoPro earlier. Yeah. Um uh Not great right now.
Yeah, it looks even worse than it did before a month.
Yeah. So like, and yeah, take next time you have that GoPro Alpha, you better. I won't. I'll listen next time. I did not listen. I was like, no, I'm not. Yeah, and then
Yeah, I
I
think I
watched it. And I'm
think
like disgusted. Like, wow. Okay. Okay.
sometimes you just get like the stars align where like it's just, like you look at that chart. I mean, it was straight down for
Yeah.
like years. But I remember talking about it. I mean, they did have like a really big cash position, and they had like a couple new products that like, the
Yes.
people were
That's. I
kind of
remember
waiting
you
for.
telling me about
And
they
so
had
like
new
it
products, and
just
I'm like,
seemed
oh god,
due.
here we go. But
It seemed due for a little Pumo.
yeah, well, you nailed
But
it. But I mean,
yeah.
okay, it gets worse, doesn't it? The more I zoom out. So that's kind of the point. And you know
Yeah.
what? You know what this is?
Oof.
These are
Man.
altcoins. This is what
Yeah.
this is. Like, look,
Wow.
you're gonna have this on. You're gonna have this on CRX. You're gonna have this on. You're gonna have moves like this that absolutely are worth trading. They're tradable, but they might look like this. Is my point.
Yep. And then
So,
straight back down.
and then yeah, so
Man, that's a brutal chart. I mean, as far as the alts go, I was gonna chime in
yeah,
on
go
that
ahead.
earlier. I think now is kind of finally the time in crypto where like the cream is it has to rise to the top. Like because like you were saying, I mean, there's literally like a million tokens now,
Mhm.
and so it's never
Well, I mean, like on
like
Sol, right? Like
yeah
during the Sol scamming season, wasn't there like a million tokens that got created in a week or something like that? Like it was
yeah.
it
I
was
mean, like
ridiculous,
yeah
right?
yeah. Pump Fund probably has
Oh
a
my,
million tokens just by itself,
like yeah, like at
and
least like
and
like millions.
like you said, it's just spread out, the capital, and like obviously there's a downturn, people leave or they get wiped out, and it's hard to come back from that, except for, like the top, I guess in general, I'd say like the top 20 or 30 tokens have a good chance. And you got to be selective of which ones are actually building or which ones are actually being used. I know you mentioned Litecoin. I mean, Litecoin is like it never gets, it's like the Rodney Dangerfield of crypto, it never gets any respect. But people, I mean, it's one of the most used um
That's like a little known
coins out
fact,
there.
right? I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah,
there's actually like
yeah.
a lot of on-chain use. And
And obviously ETH and Solana have, and AVAX and stuff like that has stuff being built on it. You got hype and some of the revenue coins. So you have like some stuff that's very interesting still. But yeah, like, third page of Coin Market Cap, is that like ever coming back? You know, probably not, but there will be some. There will be some that
yeah. Um, so there was a question, and I'm so sorry, but like I would butcher your name. I'm just gonna read it. And it's a good question. Do you think that swapping alts for ETH and Solana right now is a good idea? That's a really tough one. And because like a lot of alts look really bad, right? And like if you've been holding them for any length of time, probably underwater on that. That's my guess. Personally speaking, do I think that ETH and Sol have better futures, better potential? Yes. But if, like I would be very cautious of swapping alts that again, that like alts that are down huge, right? Like I mean, I'm not saying that we're gonna have some kind of like massive rally like this, but I do think that they're beaten down pretty well, and I think that like like what's like you would have to make that decision like on a pump, or like do you think that they're gonna out like is there a chance that they can outperform Ethan Soul? Like that's literally it. The odds of that happening probably kind of low, but I think it would be an extreme case by case basis. I would want to look at the chart. I would want to and like I would want to see, is there a setup here? Like is like I wouldn't want to sell at like some major massive support. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of alts aren't at all time lows. Um, at least like a fair amount of them. They're not like at like super all time lows or anything like that. But like maybe there's a good technical level that they're either in or coming into. Litecoin was a perfect example of that, where like it's at kind of this major macro support zone, right? Can it go lower? Yes. And if Bitcoin dumps, Litecoin is going to dump too, very likely. But the point is like they're in like this extreme, like what I would class is like they're starting to be in this like good value region that I don't mind buying and holding. So it's like you gotta kind of like treat things individually. Like so again, Litecoin to me looks more attractive than like an Atom or something, right? So it's just different. Like I would go case by case. If it was me, like I would look at each alt individually and then make the decision like is that a good idea or not? So it's kind of hard, but like I would say individually is how I would look at it
yeah.
and make that decision.
They, what's the saying? You never sell your dust. Because like as soon as you sell, it's
it's
gonna
true.
it's
No,
gonna
it
like
does though, right?
100x.
Like you sell and then you look and the damn thing's up 30%. You're like, what just happened? Like, why did I just like yeah, that I know it is true. Um, I mean, there's it's always tax loss harvesting too. It's like an option at the end of the end of the year type of stuff. But so GoPro, we're still on it. Tig, I will not. I want. I again. If I have anything positive to say about GoPro next time, I'll just take your word for it myself. Well, that was a good one.
Yeah, unlikely to revisit that
Um,
one. It looks
yeah.
like.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, oh boy. Which the chart? Which look?
Oh shit! The red.
Which
There's a red
which
candle.
look?
Huge.
I believe you. Okay. But yeah, like okay. Just to wrap this up, because it's kind of funny. you're
Wow.
below this low now, so like you're kind of, so this, I was looking at this as a potential range. That's what I already go back to the stream. I promise. I bet that's what it was. Okay, I was looking at this as a major low and like a significant high. You're back within this trading range now, although arguably it really didn't develop too much. Here's, you have a weekly around 57 cents, which I do think is, it's kind of like right. Oh my goodness, let's like, I don't know why I'm doing this right now. Um, like I would kind of like look back in this range that got that, which by the way, actually, this is a good, again, it's kind of like a good lesson, right? It's like a good, so you have your low here, nice move up, and then you have your consolidation. So you have your range. Weekly has really good confluence with your value area low. So again, 57, 58 cents on GoPro. I think that is like a pretty important support. But you have your range here. Class, this is your range high. Okay. I want to label this a little lesson. I would class this your range high, your range low would be here. And obviously you have your volume here. So you have your range, it broke out, gave you pretty nice significant highs, and guess what? It gave you a flawless perfect pullback back to your range high. So again, high consolidation. Consolidation under resistance is usually like, be very careful fading this. Got your clean daily close above your range high, off to the races. And then your pullback. So again, this is confirmed like what was once resistance. It's like a lot like Bitcoin, isn't it? So what was once resistance is now support. Look at that move. Very simple range trading. I have range trading tutorials, by the way, for anybody who's haven't looked at my YouTube channel. I don't really want to pull it up right now, but if you go to youtube.com/@tradealts, there's playlists of Fibonacci, there's playlists of range. It's all free. Like you can go look through it. But I literally walk you through like how to identify ranges, how to get your levels, how to trade them, like pretty definitively. So like it's all free. But anyway, if you're interested. Now, fast forward to this mess. You're back in this range. You're back in this potential range. I do think that you probably spend a little bit of time chopping around in here. But what's a major support that you really want to see held is the 67 cent. I still think that it's valid. Okay. If you get any kind of price action, especially a daily, weekly close, higher time frame close below 67, then this thing is in serious trouble and probably coming to 54. So, but I actually think this isn't like, this potentially is like, I do think that this actually is a pretty big support area. But this is your chart. So be very careful. But I do think that, if I'm looking at a potential bounce region, is it right here, right now? No, I wouldn't say that. Look at your daily. I want to make sure that I'm on the right settings. Look at your daily, very bearish. Trend is obviously down, very bad. But I do think that GoPro's probably headed quite a bit lower, which this is, another 20 to 40%. So would not surprise me. Probably wouldn't surprise you, Tig. I think it's in trouble.
Nope.
And I'll give you like
Going back
the
down
piece
there.
de resistance, right? It's like you're getting a weekly close below cloud right now. You're in danger of that happening, and that's just like, it's like you're in danger now. Again, your TK is even likely to cross to the downside. Cloud actually did flip bullish, so maybe if you're lucky, and GoPro maybe is doing something, maybe you're gonna get some kind of range. That wouldn't be so bad because this thing's so terribly like absolute pure garbage. If you came back to this in 2027 next year and you see something like this, maybe you're putting in some kind of decent bottom. I don't know. So that's kind of why I do think that like a move back down to this region just seems kind of highly likely, and maybe even revisiting your low overall trend extremely bad. Like this is just another like lower high, right? And then like again, if the trend is going to continue, then you're likely to come back into this region and try to see if this holds up again, or seeing it a bit lower.
Yeah, I mean
Where,
these smaller, like basically micro caps or small caps.
yeah, now,
Like
right?
it's so powerful to have like fundamental catalysts along with the TA because you can. I don't know. I guess it's just easier to maybe bottom fish,
Yeah.
sometimes.
Um,
But yeah, like once the catalysts happen, and whether it's a sell the news or like the whatever the catalyst was, didn't do it as great as expected, whatever the case, the copium kind of is out of it's coming out,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's
I mean, like you want max. I mean, the thing is, like anything like this, it's like the more pain, the better, right? Like in terms of like for opportunity, especially if you're able to kind of foresee some potential catalysts on the horizon that like you did, and then it's like when it looks this bad, it's like you think that there actually could be a pretty nice move, right? Now one last thing, because I'm tired of talking about GoPro, although it is a really good case study though, and I think that this directly translates to altcoins because like a lot of the charts look kind of similar or on their way to probably looking like that. And if we're talking about Bitcoin like one more cycle from here, kind of what these charts might end up kind of doing, um, is it's very cut and dry. Like the last time you had a weekly, the last time that you really definitively broke cloud here, you spent a lot of time. I mean, this thing just went straight down, and you're talking like a massive move. I mean, I'm gonna pull it just from something like this. Like you literally, I mean, you're down. You went down 94%. Okay, like, and I'm like cherry picking. I'm not picking up here. Although you want to do that just for fun, it's probably gonna be pretty close to the same number at that point. But yeah, 96 and a half. I mean, like this is you've had a massive move to the downside. In terms of like what would GoPro need to do, it's one very simple thing for me. What would GoPro need to do to break out of this trend? Okay, so I'm not talking about this because this I don't see it ever. I don't see it ever like challenging those highs again unless they do something that I don't know. I wouldn't say it's gonna happen. But in terms of this trend, which it obviously had a little nice pop, but still like even that 300% move plus is still a blip on the radar, right? It didn't do anything. What would get me to kind of change my high, mid, like I would say my mid to even like higher time frame thought about GoPro and like make me feel less upset that I'm even looking at this chart right now is a weekly close above cloud. And the thing is, as price continues lower, the cutoff for that gets lower too, right? So like you can see cloud is still moving downwards. So it gets easier and easier for, well, that's the wrong phrasing, easier and easier. The price becomes lower in terms of what I would want to see for a meaningful actual like trend, like a really meaningful trending move that could take GoPro back up to like, I mean, 8, $10, something like that. Again, this is asking a lot. But had again, cloud, phenomenal resistance. You've got two very clean, ultra clean tests there, massive rejections each time. If it had simply chopped around a bit and then came and you got to close back outside of cloud, then yes, I do think that over time this could have continued. So that's what I would look for. Very simply put, you're getting the opposite of that now, which is a very bad sign. You're getting a weekly close below cloud. Obviously, there's still a day. There's still Friday, right? We still got one more day. But a close below here would not be the best thing. Your equilibrium is still significantly higher. But I do think that this is probably, if history is any indication, this thing's going to bearishly cross, and then it's going to very aggressively start to move to the downside. But yeah, there could be a potential here for some kind of trade. Just as far as like any real higher time frame, like higher targets on this, the easy answer for me is weekly close above cloud would be a really nice sign. And that's going to take a lot of time. I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect that to happen this year. Like I'm talking like maybe next year this thing sets up for something we can monitor, but I don't expect miracles this year. So we can't believe we spent that long talking about GoPro, but it's a good study, good case study. Is there anything else you guys want to look at? Put in chat. Which, by the way, side note, if you haven't liked the stream yet, if you could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. It just really helps get the stream out to more people, which I really appreciate. If you're finding any value at all from this, hopefully you're finding something. Tig, your copper report came out. That was really good on Substack. You could put the link in here, by the way, too, if anybody wants. So like this style of report that he wrote on copper, and this is very macro level stuff. This is, you're talking years in the future, not necessarily right now. We are going to do a video on copper to go over what we wrote on Substack, but also give it to you. Like also, I'm going to do a technical analysis on it to like show you some levels that I think are interesting. But yeah, if you want to read it, Tig's about to put it in chat, and it will be in the link. There will be a link in the description of this video at some point after I'm done streaming and get that set up. DJ, thank you. Yeah, I do think it was a nice report. But there will be a video that accompanies that soon where we have a discussion about it, and I also bring it up on the charts and kind of give you my thoughts about higher time frame moves for it. Which GameStop is going to be one of those. That's going to be very soon. There will be a very Tig will give his full thesis on GameStop, and I will also kind of go over the technicals, even though we already did. But like I'll actually give you some, again, it's like some higher time frame thoughts about it. There it is. So there's the link in the YouTube chat. So if you want to save that for later or whatever, you want to check it out. That's our copper report with the video to follow soon. Let me see. There's one that I know Tig would love to talk about. And again, I'm happy to go back to crypto if anybody wants to look at some crypto, or you want to look at stocks. This is kind of like just the hangout mode. Whatever we do, whatever we cover is fine. Service now. This is not good. And this is one that we covered last week. Am I wrong? I think we did, right? We touched base on it.
Yeah, it was on the last live stream.
It was wasn't it?
It was the last live stream. Yeah.
Yeah. We covered it. And I do think that we're within the $100 area, 100, 104. You are trying to bounce in this region.
It was 130 when we talked about it.
Oh.
It's a little higher.
It's just a little higher. So just a little higher. And I know you think this is going a lot lower. And honestly, I don't disagree with you. I would have thought, I would have liked to have seen, which so far, honestly, to be fair, it is still holding up okay in this area. I do think that there is going to be, I want to make sure I'm on the right time or the right. Yes, I am. I do think that you're going to get a nice relief rally at some point. The problem with that is it could come from lower. And hearing a report, because somebody you said it, right? But I also heard it from somewhere else that there's a lot of retail participation on the SaaS names right now. There's a lot of a lot of retail buying this. And I think because it's on a decline, that's not, that's good and bad. I'd say that's more bad than anything. But I do think that at some point there is going to be a very significant bounce across the board, if anything, just to clear out some of the shorts, clear out and just kind of give you that nice structural look at some point. I don't think this thing is going to just fall off a cliff and never recover. But if anything, I am more interested in playing. I would more rather this, right? I would rather look to fade a nice rally than position myself to try to catch, try to catch a bit of a, to try to catch a bounce, unless it was to come down to some significant, meaningful level. Which I think that we're kind of at one, and we are stalling here. We're stopping here for a bit. I mean, it's up 2% today, which is not much considering what it's been down. But I do think that is at a relative support area that you kind of want to see held. If it starts to trade, especially, below here, which is kind of, again, around your low, then you start to open up. Is there somebody doing landscaping at your house, Take?
Oh yeah,
No,
sorry.
no, it's okay. Um, but like kind of how I would look at it is, again, if you start to trade below this region, then it opens up to kind of like the 80s, which by the way, your 886 is 87 bucks. So I do think that this is an important support that you're at. If you start to lose this level, especially closing a weekly below here, it's just, to me, it's more weakness and it's immediate weakness. So um, DJ, honestly, I hope ServiceNow dies forever. Piece of crap tech made by amateur. Well, listen, the chart don't agree. I mean, the chart agrees with you. Is what I'm trying to say. Like the chart, man, it sure looks like what you said. Like this is very painful. If you're a long service now, this is not what you want to see. Although again, I do think that this is an important support. You lose this, then opens up the floodgates for lower, and this is not insignificant, right? Like just from this low down to here is another 16%. Like that is significant. So tread lightly. But as
Yeah,
far
I think
as,
we could have like a whole
oh,
stream
we do, we
about
could. We've been talking about this, and maybe we
about
will.
the software as a service stocks, but also like AI,
Yeah,
basically, like AI's impact on just like stocks in general.
yeah, I agree. Um, Service now though, very painful. This is very painful. Came into your golden pocket. I mean, here's another thing. It front ran it here, it gave you a pump, and then it tried. When it actually came in to test it, it just spent a couple weeks here, but ultimately just lower. 786 didn't hold. This is just bad. This is bad. So last line of the defense, 98, 92. You get a weekly close below that. This thing's coming down to low 80s, low to mid 80s. And then revisit. And I'll take your immediate thought when we were at 130. You said like this thing's gonna be 60 bucks. So,
Yeah.
which by the way is like this low, right? So like that could kind of be, well. So your last low was your 786, but
Well,
this one you're
part
already
of
kind
the
of violating it.
theory
But
that I've been reading from some pretty smart people is that a lot of the like the private market and the private equity side of things has a ton of software stocks in their portfolio, and so they're having to basically short all the software stocks, even Bitcoin and other correlated assets, to like basically hedge, because people think a lot of these software stocks are basically going to zero now because the AI is just replacing the functionality on a lot of the stuff.
um, yeah, that might, maybe we'll do a stream on that because it would be good to get into a lot of those names. So here's Netflix. This one again kind of broke this parabolic trend for the first time, right? But look, it's just another rejection, 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 rejection. Like, okay. Um, Again, another nice Tenkin doing its thing. Very strong resistance right now, and now you're kind of sitting on the parabola. Um, this is kind of what I meant. Is like I think that once you break this disgusting, filthy trend, then you can, what you want to see on Netflix is some kind of range that starts to form that looks different than this, something like this. And that doesn't mean that it's fully bottomed. It just means that the rate of descent slowed down, and it's giving you a chance to, again, like see, like build a range. You can trade the range if you want. But it's like it gives it a chance to try to put in a bit of a floor before a bigger rally, or a bigger reversion, whatever it is. Um, I do think that it's, I mean, you hit your 50% retracement. That is literally where you bounced off of so far, like to the tick. And it's the 50% retracement of this entire move. So that's significant. Not shocking to like find a, have a bit of a bounce there. Your golden pocket though is a bit lower. Mid 50s to 60s. You have this nice, um, this monthly order block kind of like sitting in this region. So like anywhere down here, I think is in your anchored VWAP from this low is coming in around. Again, it's going to trend higher over time. I just think that this is a very interesting area for Netflix, and this is definitely an area like I am paying a lot of attention to. Or if it's still like I don't know the latest on that take as far as their deal to buy. I know Paramount like increased their offer again or something like that. So it's like if they just get out of that deal, I wouldn't be shocked to have like a pretty significant rally. Like, but
Oh yeah.
doesn't mean they're out of the woods necessarily. But I think like a very significant rally. At
It's
least
a
kind of
it's
relief.
it's a pretty crazy dynamic because like Paramount is now um I mean they're like they continue to up the offer
Yeah, yeah,
and so it will be pretty interesting. I don't know if it comes down to a shareholder vote or I guess both companies have to vote on it at some point. Um but yeah, I would imagine if for some reason uh they drop the bid or Paramount wins or however it happens, it would be pretty huge
yeah.
rally.
I agree, and that's kind of like I wouldn't mind that it goes lower first into those levels. That would be really nice. Like again, I'm definitely very interested there for myself. But I also heard that they're like Kalshi put something out yesterday. It's like there's a 90% chance they're gonna raise their rates again. So it's like it seems like they're raising their rates all the time now. Like the subscription price, but I know for a fact in my house, it'll I have a very high threshold for pain. And it's with my kids and with my wife, and like that ain't going anywhere. So yeah, it is what it is. But man, I remember it wasn't like remember when Netflix was like 7.99 and now it's I don't even know what it is anymore. In the 20s? I don't know, honestly.
I don't either.
That's the problem. Nobody knows, right? They
I
just
don't
pay.
either.
They don't care.
Isn't there like
So
an ad version
yeah,
too or something?
there's an ad version that's cheaper, but like okay, first of all, my kids and my wife and myself, we don't want to watch ads.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
like so
have the ad one
no,
either, but
like so you just it is what it is. Like it's just you just it is what it is. But man, it's like at some point again, like you're gonna reach a point where it's and I think like we're getting there, especially with how things kind of are in the world. Where like you're gonna maybe that's not always the best idea, but it is what it is. The thing I like about Netflix is they continue to create a lot of like they have phenomenal original content. Nobody's beating them in that in my eyes. Like they have phenomenal original content. Their library is obviously significantly larger than it's been. They just have a lot of like stuff that is interesting to me. So it is what you just gotta pay it. And now you're having all the a lot of live events and stuff that's being held there, and it's kind of like a place where I don't know. What do you think about your boy Birdie and his Palantir short?
man, I don't
Do
know.
you think
Like
it's going to $50? He just said that. I don't know about that, but
50.
he said 50. I don't know about that, but this is
Yeah,
not good. I mean, this is
it
not good.
looks like a pretty good buy zone to me.
Yeah. I mean, we're like this is kind of like what I mean from this is from the last stream, right? So like I would like it to come down here. And it's trying. Again, like you had a decent little rally here, but ultimately I do think that you're going to see this level. I was a bet man. We're not that far away, but I would like to see a bit of a bigger, um, a bigger move off of this. So below 109, which is your anchored VWAP from this move, which has been very good support on this test. Like this is and which made its new high. I do think this is very relevant. You see anything below that, and maybe he's right.
I mean, he's
Maybe it's
very
going to
good
70 or
at
80.
like structured stuff. Like that's his take on the whole big short thing. He dives deep into stuff and like he's a smart guy, so I'm not saying anything like, but
He's been wrong a lot though too.
he's hit or
Like
miss.
a
He either
lot.
hits big or misses big.
Yeah.
It's
Which is
not in
fair.
between. Yeah.
You know, fair. I mean, no one's
I mean,
perfect.
he's been short a lot of these like great companies that are like
Yeah, that are killing it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that are doing great, and then he's like long Molina, and like the next day Molina's down like 20%.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
This is one that I know I talked about XLE, and I think that it continues to look good. Like it just continues to look good. I talked about this last stream. Um, and you're getting again, you're still getting that break. You're getting your very nice consolidation, your clean break to the upside as long as you're above this key level. It's just, and like I even said that, and I am long XLE, but like, below this weekly low, I would kind of like trade, that way I like keep my stop relatively tight. But I do want to let this run as well. And right now, Tenkin, look at your Tenkin, look at your Kijun here, like the angulation, very steep, very bullish, clouds very bullish. Like this looks really good. This is kind of one of those things where like you could get pullbacks, you just got to give it a little bit of time. But ultimately, like I do think that this is an extremely nice, clean, fresh break of this, of this range that you've been in for the last 4 years. This is just a nice, this is clean. And you even, what I like about this too, is you even got your pullback here and then your rally. So I just think that this just feels like it has legs. And I think that this has a lot of, not bad. So, um, is there anything else you want to take a look at? By the way, we might go live on Barron Street Research later. Possible. Um, that wasn't my house.
Sounds like someone's being killed
Yeah.
upstairs. No, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to save it for the other
No, I mean, like
stream.
we're an hour and a half in. I think this is fine.
I
I really
mean,
wanted to
geez,
cover. I really
like the
wanted to cover
brokers, all the
crypto.
brokers would be good to look over.
Yeah, maybe we'll do another stream on Monday or something. Yeah, maybe we can continue. But unless there's anything like anybody in chat, is there anything you guys want to look at, or we might just call it.
Sounds good.
I'll give it like 10 seconds. See if anything. But yeah, I mostly want to
Going
cover.
once,
I mostly wanted to
going
cover
twice.
Bitcoin and cover a bit of
Oh,
crypto stuff because I haven't been publicly, like I haven't been like super active covering that stuff, but I do think that it's important considering where we are, and so far it's behaving just like I would expect it to. It's like you got the bounce off of 60K, you got a $12,000 bounce. I mean, I guess I can go back to it very briefly just to wrap up. But like you got a $12,000 bounce off of this, and right now, like we're just gonna like I really just think we're gonna spend some time here, and that's okay. It's like we might spend a month above 60K and below 72. It's possible. Like we could just spend some time here. At some point, it's the break of that side, or when you start to get to the extremes of that range, and I'm talking 60K to 72, 73, you get to the extremes. That's for me is my next trade. And I'm talking about from like a swing trade perspective, like higher time frame, longer hold. I'm going to be scalping. I've been scalping every single day. And that's not going to change. Although here again, I'm not mine a little bit lower. Um, um, it's like I don't like right here, right now. There's nothing that is exciting for me from a scalping perspective. Which, by the way, we're literally in the middle of this, right? Like we're in between 60 and 73. We're like literally in the middle. So there's just not it's not super attractive to like really be trading around here anyway. But I really want to see what happens here or what happens here. That's my next swing trade potential. And then, if we do continue to move lower, I have my bids waiting. So if they get filled, great. I want them to get filled. But I wouldn't mind this, which I started the video off with this, or started stream off with this, is another retest um, of this SR zone here. I would love that for like a potential swing short. I just think that this is like probably like the best region. I mean, as you see, why it's super clean. Cloud bottom of weekly cloud is sitting there. This is a very clean region to look for a trade like that, and there aren't that many others. Like I just don't. I think like at this point in the game, this is the best chance for some kind of reaction off of here that ultimately could end up being a decent trade. But again, I will, I'll probably do a stream on Monday again or something like that, and kind of go over a bit more, see what happens into Friday close, what happens over the weekend. But I do kind of want to give you my thoughts about lower levels and where I do think, we ultimately could see like a decent macro bottom, because I don't think it's right here. Could be wrong. I don't think the low's in. I think we're going lower. But I don't think we're going to 10K. I don't think we're going to 8K. It's extremely unlikely. Could it happen? Yes. Is it likely? No. But like, I'll give my thoughts about lower levels. I think we have, again, I think we have time. It's not an emergency. If I see you on Monday and we're at 30K, then it'll say emergency. This is bad. No. But
Sir, my family.
I definitely don't expect that to happen, but I'm just saying, so we'll save that for next stream. But again, middle of the range. For me, nothing here. Again, some scalping. I told you golden pockets a bit lower. I might be interested in that. There's really not much confluence there. 786 daily level. I think it was like what 62.1, somewhere around there. More interesting. Also closer to the bottom of the range, which I like. But there's just not a lot here until we get to one of these range extremes. Then I will be excited to want to be a participant. Weekly close above would be a nice sign that we could be looking for an even bigger squeeze, even bigger mean reversion, type move to the upside. It doesn't mean that the low's in. I don't think that's like super likely to happen. But if you do get a weekly close back inside a cloud, then I would be looking. Find your TK lines, which by then, hopefully like we get a little bit of movement inside a cloud. It gives you like a better level to watch. My guess is, somewhere mid 80s. Not out of the question. I mean, there are scenarios that I could see us going to there. I just don't think it's very likely right now. And I think that we've kind of found the near kind of higher end of the range. Like I think this range is kind of decided almost. And I'm talking about between 60K and 72. Any extremes of that to me are like the opportunity. So again, if we run this high and we maybe form some kind of range swing failure pattern, but pushes us up into 73, 74, 74 and a half, something like that, and then you get some nice movement below this, that's just like that's what I'm looking for. Like that's what I'm kind of being patient for. Same thing to the downside. Maybe we take out this low, but we go down to like 57, 58, something like that. It's interesting. Even all the way down to like 53, 54. Clean up this weekly, well into your golden pocket. Like that's okay to me. Like they're just both interesting areas. I do have spot bids throughout here. I will continue to fill if this drops. We get below 49K, and what I mean, again, kind of the spoiler here is I do think that this is a very important level. Let me see if I can clean this up first. Like, kind of the spoiler alert for the next one is a run of this low is like if we actually see this low get taken out. I'm talking about this, but then we kind of do something like this. And then be looking for that. That would be potentially nice. Which, by the way, is your S2 yearly pivot. Currently, your S1, we're sitting on it. Like, this is a decent area. It's acted fairly well, I would say. But, like, you start to get kind of deeper into this region. It seems like plausible, right? And kind of, again, I'll leave you with this, but you'll hear this again. Is I kind of think, like, you know what? Never mind. I'm going to save it for next time. I don't want to spoil everything. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't liked the stream already, please like it. I would greatly appreciate it. Helps get it out there to people. And see you on the next one.
Later, guys.